So there I was, flipping through the years of birthdays, holidays, and random moments. That's when I saw him. In one photo, a man stood in the doorway behind us, tall and thin, completely still, just watching. At first, I assumed he was a relative I didn't recognize, but something about him felt wrong.
Here's the top 3 no-sleep stories from Reddit. Number 3.
It was supposed to be a rare celestial event. A lunar spectacle not seen in centuries, every headline screamed. People gathered in parks, set up telescopes, and planned watch parties in anticipation. For weeks, all anyone could talk about was the blood moon. Nobody mentioned the danger. I was at Rachel's rooftop party the night it happened. There were maybe 15 of us, passing around drinks and joking about how overhyped it all was. Around 9:13 p.m., it began. The moon turned crimson, hanging low and massive in the sky. Everyone fell silent. It didn't look right. The edges were too sharp, the color too vivid, almost unnaturally so. It didn't glow as the moon should. It pulsed, faintly but rhythmically, like a beating heart. Rachel laughed nervously. It looks weird, right? Looks like a Halloween decoration, someone joked, but no one else laughed. People started taking pictures. I did too at first. The photos came out strange. Blurred edges, warped shapes, as if the camera couldn't comprehend what it was seeing. It was mesmerizing in a way I couldn't describe. I put my phone down, feeling unsettled. Amy didn't. She was still staring at her screen, zooming in on the moon. That's when she screamed. It wasn't the kind of scream you let out when you're startled. It was guttural, primal, like she was in unbearable pain. Her phone clattered to the ground and she clutched her face, raking her nails into her cheeks. "Don't look!" she shrieked, her voice raw and cracking. "Don't look at it!" Everyone panicked. People shouted, asking her what was wrong, but she couldn't answer. She just kept clawing at her eyes, muttering things that didn't make sense. "They're inside. They're inside." The murmurs started after that. People around us, my friends, began clutching their heads, whispering things that didn't sound like their own voices. "It's awake. Your bones are windows. Let it in." I turned to Rachel. "We need to get out of here." She didn't respond. She was staring at the moon, her face slack, her mouth moving as though she were trying to form words. Her eyes didn't look like her own anymore. Glassy, unfocused. "Rachel!" I shook her, but it was like she wasn't even there. Then someone on the other side of the rooftop whispered, "It's looking back." I turned to see who had said it, but nobody was talking. They were all staring at the moon. Even Amy had stopped screaming, her eyes wide and unblinking. Her lips moved silently, as though she were repeating some inaudible prayer. I don't know how I did it, but I grabbed Rachel and dragged her downstairs. People were collapsing on the rooftop as I fled, their bodies convulsing. I heard someone muttering, "Don't fight it. It's in us now." The streets were chaotic. People stood motionless in the middle of the road, gazing up at the crimson sky. The news anchors later that night spoke in strange monotones, saying things like, "The tide is coming. Open yourselves to it." Rachel hasn't spoken since that night. She sits by the window, humming a melody I've never heard before. Sometimes I catch her looking at her reflection in the glass and whispering, "It's in us now." The moon hasn't left the sky. It's bigger every night, redder, closer. People keep looking. They post pictures even though the photos don't show the moon anymore. They show an eye, a massive staring eye. And every time I see it, I swear I hear a voice in the back of my mind whispering, "It's your turn." I've locked the windows. I've avoided looking. But the whispers are getting louder, and I don't know how much longer I can resist.
Number 2.
I was at my apartment surrounded by old family pictures. My mom had died 3 days earlier, and my dad had given me 2 boxes of photo albums, telling me to take whatever I wanted. So there I was, flipping through the years of birthdays, holidays, and random moments. That's when I saw him. In one photo, a man stood in the doorway behind us, tall and thin, completely still, just watching. At first I assumed he was a relative I didn't recognize, but something about him felt wrong. The picture was from my 8th birthday. I knew because of the spaceship-shaped cake. I was leaning over the table, blowing out candles, my mom smiling beside me. Behind us, in the hallway, was the man. He looked too tall for the doorway. Dark hair, pale face. His arms hung loosely at his sides, and he was staring straight at me. I turned the photo over. My mom had written, "Caleb's 8th birthday." Minutes later, I found him again. It was Christmas. I looked about 11, sitting on the floor opening presents while my mom laughed nearby. And in the dark hallway behind us, there he was again. Same man, same stillness, watching. I kept going through the photos. He showed up in more of them. In a school picture from my first day of 1st grade, he stood across the street, far enough away that you might miss him at first. But once you saw him, you couldn't ignore him. I started pulling the photos out and setting them aside. 17 pictures. 17 times the same man appeared somewhere behind me, watching. The strangest part? He never looked older. The photos spanned years, but he looked the same in every single one. That's when I called my dad. "I'm going through the photo boxes," I said. "There's something weird I need to ask you. Do you remember a tall guy who used to be around when I was a kid?" "Tall guy?" "Yeah, thin, dark hair, pale." I heard him breathe, then he said casually, "Oh, him." The way he said it made me uneasy. "Yeah," I said. "Him. Who is that?" "I don't remember his name." "That doesn't make sense," I said. "He's in a bunch of photos." "Is he?" "Yes." There was a longer silence. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "I thought you remembered him." "Remember who?" "The guy," he said. "You used to talk about him all the time." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "When you were little, you had an imaginary friend." I let out a short laugh. "Seriously?" "Yeah." "What was his name?" "You never gave him one," my dad said. "You just called him the tall man." I looked down at the photos spread across the floor. "You're telling me the imaginary friend I made up is in all these pictures?" "I don't know," he said. "That doesn't make sense." "I know." I sent him one of the photos, the birthday one. He didn't reply right away. After about 20 seconds, he said, "That's exactly how you described him." "And you were okay with that?" "Well," he said, "you weren't scared of him." I rubbed my face, trying to think. Then something else started to bother me. I spread all the photos out and arranged them by year. That's when I noticed it. In the older pictures, the man was far away, across the room, down the hallway, outside. But as the years went on, he got closer, a little closer each time. In the more recent photos, he was only a few steps behind me, then right behind me. The last photo in the box was from my mom's funeral. Someone must have taken it outside the church. I hadn't looked at it yet. Slowly, I picked it up. In the picture, I was standing near the steps with a few relatives looking exhausted. And directly behind me, the tall man stood with one hand resting lightly on my shoulder. I stared at it for a long time. Then, without thinking, I looked up at the dark reflection in my living room window. For a split second, I thought I saw someone standing behind me. Tall, still, watching.
Number 1.
I've never told this story in full detail before, but it's true. It happened when I was about 6 years old. In a quiet room, if you press your ear against a pillow, you can hear your heartbeat. As a kid, those muffled, rhythmic beats sounded like soft footsteps on carpet. Almost every night, just as I was drifting off, I would hear them and be jolted awake, terrified. I lived with my mom in a modest house in a neighborhood that was slowly changing. There were woods all around, which I explored during the day but feared at night. Our house also had a large crawl space underneath, and between that and the woods, my imagination filled in all kinds of monsters. The footsteps made everything worse. I told my mom, but she said I was imagining things. Once, she even used a turkey baster to flush my ears with water, thinking it might help. It didn't. Nothing truly strange ever happened, except that sometimes I'd wake up on the bottom bunk even though I'd fallen asleep on the top. I assumed I'd gotten up during the night and just didn't remember. Then one night I didn't wake up in my bed at all. I woke up cold, freezing. When I opened my eyes, I saw stars. I was outside in the woods. At first I thought I was dreaming, but everything felt too real. In front of me was a deflated shark-shaped pool float. That detail made it even more surreal. After a while, it became clear. I wasn't asleep. I stood up, trying to orient myself, but I didn't recognize the area. I knew the woods near my house well, yet this place felt unfamiliar. When I took a step, a sharp pain shot through my foot. I'd stepped on a thorn. By moonlight, I could see they were everywhere. Oddly, the rest of me was fine. No scratches, barely dirty. I cried for a bit, then stood again. With no better option, I picked a direction and started walking. I didn't call out. I wasn't sure I wanted whatever was out there to find me. I walked for what felt like hours, trying to keep a straight line. At one point, I heard what sounded like a crying baby. I now think it was a cat, but at the time, I panicked. I ran, dodging bushes and fallen trees, watching my footing as my feet grew raw. Then I saw it, the pool float. I was right back where I'd started. It wasn't anything supernatural, I was just lost. That realization hit hard. I tried again, this time following what I thought was the North Star, the brightest one I could see. Eventually, the woods began to look familiar. When I spotted a dirt ditch my friends and I used to play in, I knew I was close. Despite the pain in my feet, I started to jog. When I finally saw the roof of my house, I broke into a run, fighting back tears. Then I saw it. Every light in the house was on. I slowed down, dreading the explanation I couldn't give. As I reached the porch and grabbed the doorknob, two arms suddenly wrapped around me and yanked me back. I screamed, "Oh, Mom! Help me, please!" The door flew open, and for a split second, I felt hope. But it wasn't my mom. It was a massive man. I kicked and thrashed, screaming, "Where is she? What did you do to my mom?" Then I heard her voice. "Honey, please calm down. I've got you." The arms loosened. The man in front of me shifted, and I saw his uniform. He was a police officer. I turned, and there she was, my mom. Inside, she hugged me tightly, crying. "I thought I'd never see you again." "I'm sorry," I said. "I don't know what happened." "It's okay," she said, trying to laugh through tears. "Just don't ever do that again." "Why did you grab me like that?" I asked. "I was afraid you'd run again." "Run again?" She pointed to a piece of paper on the table. "We found your note." It was a runaway letter. It said I was unhappy and never wanted to come back. I stared at it. I didn't remember writing it. I didn't remember any of this. Then one detail cut through everything. "That's not how you spell my name. I didn't write this."
Share your no-sleep stories in the comment section. Leave your comment down below and like and subscribe for more Reddit stories like this.